Hey guys, Morgan here. So recently I just discovered that I have about 50, about 52, 55 Criterion movies in my Blu-ray collection. And I thought, hey, maybe it's a good time to do a video on these. Why not just to share with you what I have. Some of these titles might be a surprise. They might be expected. Okay, so the first title we have in my collection is the Before Trilogy. Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight. It's these three movies directed by Richard Linklater, and it stars Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. It's like these three romantic films, and each of them filmed 9 years apart. So the very first movie, I don't even want to give too much away, but in the very first movie, it's like how the characters of Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy meet, and in the second movie, it's about like a reconnection, not having seen her for a long time, and in the third movie, it's like the long-term relationship and the reality of the moment, and it's just a great three amazing movies about love and just romance, and I highly recommend. At the very least, watch the first movie. I think the first movie is a must-watch, and I feel like depending on the age of the viewer, your favorite out of the three is going to like it's gonna depend on you. I feel like the young people like Sunrise. Personally, my personal favorite is Sunset. I like Sunset a lot. The next movie in my collection is Brian De Palma's Blowout, starring John Travolta and Nancy Allen. Another great film, another amazing movie. Easily one of my favorites that I've owned. Long story short, it's about a sound recordist who accidentally captures the audio of a potential crime of some kind. That's sort of like the hook. And John Travolta's character, he has to sort of like deal with the consequences and just the mystery of what's going on. It's a great thriller movie. There's an amazing scene where Travolta is he's like in his audio studio, and he's just you just get to see him go through the process of syncing sound to picture. And I feel like any filmmaker who does post-production or sound recording will absolutely like this movie. It's going to be right up your alley. Next one, The Breakfast Club, John Hughes. It's a bit dark at times, but it's pretty great. Great cast, great dynamics. Next one, Breathless by Jean-Luc Godard. A lot of French cinema. It's very quirky, and I feel like the two leads are very, very charming. Jeez, and who's the actress in this movie? She's absolutely gorgeous. I just want to point that out. Okay, and the next movie is Broadcast News. So I mainly picked this up because of Albert Brooks. I first took notice of him in Nicholas Winding Refn's Drive in 2011. And he plays a villain in that movie because that's the first time I took notice of him. He's mostly known as a comedic actor. And hey, he's in a movie that's in the Criterion collection. I'll pick it up. Moving on is Steven Soderbergh's Che, starring Benicio del Toro. I've only seen the first one, and I thought it was pretty good. Gorgeous visuals. It's very, very crispy. That digital picture, very crispy. That's the very first thing that I remember. But I did hear part 2 is a bit very different than part 1, very slow. Okay, next movie is Code Unknown by Haneke. Have not seen this. Haneke is very interesting director. I've only seen one of his movies, but for the most part, I know he has a very his movies are very risky. He's a big risk taker. Okay, next movie is The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, David Fincher. This is my very first Criterion. I bought the DVD of this a long time ago. and then picked it up on Blu-ray. I really like this movie, but in terms of David Fincher's filmography, I'll have this in the like at the bottom, maybe not the very bottom, but it's at the lower tier. Doesn't mean it's a bad movie. David Fincher, he just has a ton of great movies. But yeah, it's almost like a Fincher's version of Forrest Gump, in simple terms. Okay, next one is David Lynch, The Art Life. So this is like a documentary about just how Lynch got into filmmaking, just his upbringing, his life, his art, paintings, just getting to know him. And believe it or not, so I saw this movie, and I have not seen a David Lynch movie in its entirety. I've seen maybe like a few minutes of Eraserhead, and that's about it. And maybe the Nine Inch Nails performance in David Lynch's Twin Peaks TV show. But I thought this was very interesting, and I have seen a David Lynch Q&A on YouTube. Very interesting person. I'm very intrigued by him. I will say, for this Blu-ray, one of the biggest selling point for me, other than getting to know Mr. Lynch himself, is the interview with one of the directors. Basically talks about how he got to do this documentary. Like, the cameraman had to basically lived on location for like a month or two, a few months, just to get the cool artsy B-roll footage of Lynch's roaming around his house. Very, very cool stuff. Now we got Day for Night. Is it Francis Truffaut? Is that how you say it? I might be butchering it.
François Truffaut.
Great movie. It's a movie about the making of a fictional movie. Love it. Lots of characters. Just it's basically set life. Amazing. Especially if you're like a filmmaker, I think you're gonna love this movie. Highly recommend. Terrence Malick's Days of Heaven. I've not seen this movie, but one of my film teachers, I believe this is his favorite movie, Days of Heaven. Elevator to the Gallows. I just saw this for the first time earlier this year. Very, very cool movie. Great soundtrack. Very jazzy soundtrack. Miles Davis. I think he just watched the movie like me like one time and he just did the music while watching it. I could be wrong though. Very stylish movie. Very minimalistic, in my opinion. Okay, up next is David Lynch's Eraserhead. Again, I've only seen maybe a couple minutes of this movie, but from what I saw, it was super weird. I did take notice in the sound design of this movie. I know supposedly Lynch and his sound designer, they spent like months and months just creating weird noises for his movies. So yeah, I did work on a short film last year with a filmmaker, and I love that sound design for that movie. Pretty sure it's inspired by this movie. Okay, up next is Fish Tank by Andrea Arnold, Noah Baumbach's Francis Ha, starring Greta Gerwig. The Friends of Eddie Coyle, directed by Peter Yates of Bullet fame. Excellent movie. I really like this movie. Heist film of some sorts. Very quiet, very reserved. It's not very explosive. If you've seen Ben Affleck's Heat, you'll recognize that they take a lot of inspiration from this movie. Like, there are like some shots that clearly resemble the stuff that's in this that's in the Friends of Eddie Coyle. Excellent commentary track as well. Peter Yates is in the commentary track, and you can tell he's super proud of this movie. Then we got High and Low by Akira Kurosawa. I've not seen this movie yet. It's unopened. Part of the reason why I picked it up, why I bought it, I see this movie being recommended all the time. Like when people say, oh, there's a Criterion sale going on. Well, what do you guys recommend? High and Low is always in the suggestions. Hunger, a film by Steve McQueen, starring Michael Fassbender. I believe it's their very first collaboration. They've worked several times after this. Next movie, The Innocents by Jack Clayton. I was watching a podcast with Robert Englund, who famous for being Freddy Krueger. Basically, the podcast question was like, what horror movie would you recommend to somebody who's not into horror, or something of that sorts? And he recommends The Innocents. He says it's a fantastic gateway to horror movies. So hey, if you're looking to like maybe try it out, the horror genre, try The Innocents. And recently I saw a couple of interviews with the director of that new Host movie from 2020, that Zoom movie. I think it's a Rob Savage, and he says The Innocents is his favorite movie of all time. And I'm very curious. I mean, I just hear it's beautiful black and white photography, great sound design, and this movie's from the 1960s. Sound design, 1960s? Come on, I need to know what they did here. I'll watch it for some inspiration. Up next, Inside Llewyn Davis by Joe and Ethan Cohen. Very beautiful cinematography, great music. Moving on is Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love. I have a friend who, whenever I meet him, Wong Kar-wai is brought up maybe 90% of the time. I feel like I'm in a trance when I watch this movie. But then I remember when it gets to the ending, like when it just, like you know, if you've seen the movie, it's like this complete different shift compared to the rest of the movie. That's where it kind of loses me. I'm just wondering, I'm just scratching my head like, wait, hold up. So then, because that's my last impression of the movie, I'm like, huh? But then I remember the stuff with like, in like the rest of the movie. It's just absolutely beautiful. Even when you're on the main menu of this Blu-ray, it's absolutely beautiful. It's just like the slow shots, slow tracking shots. I need to watch this movie again. I need to, because my friend who I just mentioned, he's prepping to film something, and he tells me that a lot of the inspiration of that movie is Wong Kar-wai stuff. So yeah, I need to watch it. Moving on is Insomnia. Kuroneko, a horror movie in the Criterion collection. So I'm really curious to see what this 1968 movie has to offer. Japanese ghosts. I'm intrigued. Haine, translation hate. For the longest time, when I was a teenager, I would go to a local bookstore, Borders, and then there's like a Criterion section, or like a bit of a foreign film section. This cover, like, it doesn't look like much, but me as a very young teenager just looking at this, like, I'm so curious about what this movie is about. And I just saw this movie for the first time maybe last year or just a couple years ago. Blew my mind. Absolutely amazing. The filmmaking, the energy of this movie, it's so like punk rock, so rock and roll, so kinetic. If I saw this movie as a teenager, as a very young teenager, wow, I don't even know if my mind could have comprehended the crazy energy of this movie. Okay, up next is La Ventura. Sometimes when I'm browsing Criterion movies, if the cover catches my eye, I would Google it, look up some reviews of the Blu-ray, DVD, and then if it sounds interesting, if it sounds good, I'll pick it up. So it's almost like a blind buy. I don't know anything about this movie. I've never seen it, never heard about it until like maybe 3 minutes before I decided to buy this movie online. But yeah, I'm really curious about it. If you've seen this movie, let me know in comments. Le Samouraï by Jean-Pierre Melville. Maybe the coolest movie I have in my collection. So I love Drive with Ryan Gosling, and whenever you ask, what are some other movies similar to Drive, the Samouraï is always brought up. So that's how I discovered this movie. And this movie is so freaking cool. It's 1967, but if you watch this Blu-ray, it looks fantastic. Amazing. Moving on. Man Bites Dog. Man Bites Dog is about this documentary crew following this hitman, and basically just we get to witness this process of being a serial killer, actually. And eventually, things get chaotic. There is one amazing scene where I don't want to give away too much, but if you're into filmmaking, especially sound, because in the movie the characters, you have the serial killer that they're following, but then you also have the director, the cameraman, and the sound recordist. So the sound is basically who is the boom operator, and there's this crazy scene in the second half of the movie where there's a chase going on, and it's like the chase takes place on multiple levels. So the boom operator can only be at one part, and then the cameraman's at another place. So the audio is really like all over the place in a consistent way. But it just creates a very chaotic feeling, and I feel like if that's what they were going for, they nailed it. But that scene stands out to me in the technical meta filmmaking way. My Own Private Idaho by Gus Van Sant. Same as the bookstore. I would see this movie and I'm like, Keanu Reeves. Oh, who's this guy? River Phoenix? And then it wasn't until recently I watched a Criterion Closet video featuring Paul Dano. And he talks about My Own Private Idaho. He takes a moment to talk about My Own Private Idaho. And just hearing him talk about it so passionately made me pick this up. Or actually, I think I already picked it up, and then a couple years later, I saw him talk about it. For whatever reason, I did not open his Blu-ray set for like a couple years. That's a lot of these movies I've not seen. I think there's at least 10 of these Blu-rays that I have not opened yet, have not seen. Okay, so moving on is Terrence Malick's The New World. Amazing, beautiful movie. It's like Terrence Malick's version of Pocahontas. Amazing movie. Then you got cinematography work by Emmanuel Lubezki. Oh my God, it's beautiful. And then this Blu-ray set comes with 3 different versions of the film. And you have a super nice looking 172-minute extended cut of The New World, the 135-minute theatrical cut, and you have a 150-minute version first cut of the movie. And I mentioned these because there is a fantastic special feature in his Blu-ray set that features the editors. I don't know how many of the editors are there, but like 1, 2, 3, 3 of the editors, and then like they all worked on each of the different cuts. So they talk about and just the process of working with Malick on during editing and what that's like. Very interesting stuff. So I would highly recommend that if you're into like post-production or just filmmaking in general. Great movie. Maybe my top 3 Terrence Malick movie. Moving on, Night of the Living Dead, George A. Romero. A couple years ago, I decided to make a zombie short film. And in preparation for that, I bought Night of the Living Dead on Criterion and just watched it. Very inspiring. This movie is so inspiring. And there's a fantastic... Again, Criterion, they have great special features, man. There's a fantastic special feature on here. It's called... What's it called again? I think it's put together by the guys who did by the guys who were in charge of that Every Frame a Painting YouTube channel. And they do all this crazy analysis on films. And I think, correct, I could be wrong, but I believe Criterion picked those guys up. So now they do special features for Criterion. Okay, up next, Personal Shopper starring Kristen Stewart. Very subdued film, very quiet movie. She's great in it. Kristen Stewart, she's great in it. Okay, up next, Jackie Chan's Police Story 1 and 2. Now, I have seen the movies, but I have not seen the Criterion version of these movies. Because I own Police Story 1 and 2 and 3, aka Super Cop, on DVD under the Dragon Dynasty label. But I've not seen these ones. I am curious about checking out the special feature with Edgar Wright. He has an interview on here. And he has a podcast. They have a podcast conversation between Edgar Wright and Jackie Chan on this Blu-ray. Super curious about those features. Edgar Wright, he's a big Jackie Chan fan. Okay, moving on. Dude, I love this movie. Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I would marry this movie if I could. And if you've seen this movie, saying that is like, you have no chance. But this movie is amazing. When I went to go see a film at the Lemley Playhouse movie theater, and then the trailer for Portrait of a Lady on Fire came up. And what I got from that preview was just the hook of a painter, an artist, trying to create a portrait of a subject without that person knowing about it. It's just that little concept got me hooked on this movie. So then the ArcLight Hollywood, they had a advanced screening of this movie, and the director, Celine Sciamma, I believe that's her name, she was going to do a Q&A after the movie. So I thought, might as well, easy decision, might as well do it. And I watched the movie. 2 hours later, blown away. Maybe one of the best movies I've seen in the past 10 years. Easy. Highly recommend. I have not seen the Criterion disc yet, but I know I'm going to love it. Up next, Roman Polanski's Repulsion. Have not seen this movie, have not opened it. I've had it for a long time. I know a friend of mine, he says this is the scariest movie he's ever seen, so that makes me very curious. Okay. Gets Spielman's Revanche. Fantastic movie. I had this for quite a while, at least a year, and then I watched it just one night on a whim. And then when the movie ended, I was just like, why haven't I watched this movie earlier? Kicking myself for not seeing this before. Beautiful. Such a fantastic movie. It's almost like the way the narrative structure flows. It's like sort of like a Looper, The Place Beyond the Pines. If you know how the narrative goes in those movies, you might get an idea on what I'm trying to say. But I don't say too much. It's like, oh man, this movie is amazing. Such a tragic ending as well. I don't want to say too much about it. You guys have to watch this movie. This movie is fantastic. It's easily one of the best movies I've ever seen. Amazing movie. Great performances. Oh my goodness, great movie. It's a movie that's gonna stick with you. But it's nothing scary. But it's just the way the events unfold, and just the decisions, and oh my god, and just the quiet moments. Amazing movie. Please watch this right now. Watch this right now if you can. Okay, up next, Rififi. Have not seen this movie. I know it's But I know it's a heist film, very highly praised, highly acclaimed heist film. And I think part of the reason why I bought this movie was because I was in the process of editing a short film that was about a heist. So I just wanted to see what the greatest heist film from 1955 what they did with their editing and sound design and stuff like that. Francis Ford Coppola's Rumblefish. I've not seen this movie, have not opened it yet, but I did enjoy Outsiders, Coppola's previous film prior to making Rumblefish. So I'm curious to see what he did with this film. I know it's supposed to be a lot more experimental, so I'm very curious. Okay, Scorsese shorts. Hey, I need to watch more Scorsese movies. So I thought this Blu-ray was the perfect opportunity to just catch up on some stuff from him. I'm kind of intrigued by his documentary about his parents, just to see what he did with that kind of project. Because I've been working on a documentary for the past year. Well, super on and off on this documentary. So I'm just trying to eat up all the inspiration that I can. Up next, John Frankenheimer's Seconds. I think one of the big reason I bought this was because there was a Criterion Closet video with Ben Wheatley, the director of Kill List, and he mentions this movie, just how it's so trippy. The concept and just the cinematography. It's just so weird and stuff. And I believe he says he wants to remake this or something. If he could, he would remake this. No, I could be wrong, but watch it. I can confirm it is very trippy. Goes into some weird places, but well worth the watch. Up next, Lee Chang-dong's Secret Sunshine. I don't know much about this movie, but I did read just a little description about it, just to see what I could be getting into if I bought this, and say, hey, it sounds super depressing, give it to me. I'm also been in the vibe to watch like simple, quiet movies, just super intense dramas, nothing fancy, no fancy cinematography. Been in the vibe to just see some of those movies. Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. I saw this for the first time last year, I believe. Maybe it was this year. Yeah, this year. Very beautiful, very epic for a film of 1954. The battle sequences, just the movement, and just the scale of like all the extras, the people on screen. Very, very cool stuff. Silence of the Lambs. Saw this again on October. I was watching a bunch of horror movies. I was trying to watch 31 horror movies, and Silence of the Lambs was the very first one that I decided to pop in. Holds up so well. Amazing. This movie is fantastic. Jodie Foster is fantastic in this movie. Just her expressions, her eyes, just you just care so much about her and her well-being, about this movie. You're just very inspiring performance. And Anthony Hopkins, he's in this movie so little, and yet he wins Best Actor at the Academy Awards. Amazing. And then the twists and turns. Oh my god. I don't wanna say too much. Like when I saw this movie for the first time, I was blown away. Like there's a oh my god, at the twists and stuff, and oh my god. I don't want to say this too much, but watch this movie. This movie's I highly recommend this movie. The Spy Who Came In From the Code. So when I bought this movie, I bought this at Amoeba Music used. One of the cool things about movie stores that have lots of Blu-rays and just physical media, when you're just browsing and just looking at covers and stuff, these movies they catch your eye, So I found this, decided to Google it, is it good or not, and I just Decided to just pick it up with some brief research. Okay. San Peckinpah's Straw Dogs. Pretty intense. Dustin Hoffman. Oh, Sword of Doom. This is probably my favorite samurai movie. It's just the characters. Okay, basically, like, if I just had to like tell you what it's about in simple terms, it's almost like you're following the samurai who is basically evil incarnate, and then throughout the movie he meets up like these other like clans, these other groups of samurai, these schools. One of these schools has a Toshiro Mifune. He is like a teacher, a master in one of them, and a Mifune's student. The student is seeking revenge because the main character killed his father, I believe, or killed someone he knew. So it's like a revenge movie, and basically these characters of good must find a way to stop the evil samurai. Great movie, but supposedly it was made with a sequel in mind. So the ending is a bit of a cliffhanger, or there are a few things that are not resolved. I mean, I think the ending works, but there are a couple of things. There are a couple of little plot lines that are not concluded in a satisfying way. I don't want to say too much about it, but amazing movie. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Jim Jarmusch, he had this movie on repeat for quite a while when he was trying to quit smoking or something. Tu Mamá También by Alfonso Cuarón. I have not seen this movie. Have not opened it yet. Someday. I always hear about this movie. I hear how good it is. Have not. Someday. Terrence Malick's The Thin Red Line. Great movie. What a great cast, too. Maybe number 2 favorite Terrence Malick film. I think the New World, The Thin Red Line, and yeah, top three for sure. Oh, Michael Mann's Heat. Great movie. This movie is so cool. Just like the samurai, like again, like movies to watch after Drive. People always say, "Oh, the samurai," and then this and that. And Thief is another one. Great soundtrack too by Tangerine Dream. Great soundtrack. It's just so cool. Tree of Life, Terrence Malick. This is the other movie in my top 3 of Malick's films. Seeing this for the first time really resonated with me. Just the whole thing with the kids and the mom and the dad, Brad Pitt, Jessica Chastain, young Ty Sheridan. Great. I love that part of the movie, the whole family thing. Okay, next, Vampyr. Is that how you say this movie? Have not seen it, have not opened it, but I am curious about it. Black and white, 1932, horror, striking imagery. Very curious. The Vanishing. Oh my goodness. Maybe one of the scariest endings I've ever seen in a movie. Chilling to the bone. I legit had goosebumps. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to say any more. But I mean, if you need to know the plot, is basically boyfriend, girlfriend, they go on a trip together. They stop by at a gas station. Boyfriend gets gas. Girlfriend disappears from the car. And boyfriend starts looking for her. And then, boom, the movie starts. Wings of Desire by Wim Wenders. Okay, how I discovered this movie was I was watching an interview with Keanu Reeves, and the interviewer asks him, "What's your favorite romantic movie?" And he immediately says, "Wings of Desire." That's how I discovered this movie. And watching this, at least recalling, I haven't seen this one in a while, but recalling this movie, yeah, of course that makes total sense. Of course Keanu will would dig this film. Very, very beautiful movie. Just great photography. Very quiet. It's like very sensible. Lots of sensibilities with this movie. I need to watch this movie again. And that does it with my Criterion collection. I mean, I do have a few others that I know that one I don't have on this shelf is Chasing Amy. Kevin Smith's Chasing Amy. So that's another one. But it's hidden in a box full of DVDs that's in a shed somewhere. But there you have it. That's my collection. Hope you guys took something out of this video. If you guys have seen these movies, let me know in your comments what do you think of them. If there's a movie that I haven't seen that you think I should watch ASAP, let me know in the comments. That's all I have for you guys. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.